Hey guys, welcome back to Monica's channel. Today we're going to talk about racism, and racism really brought Monica and I together actually. I feel like we've experienced a lot of similar things when it comes to that. I'm full Filipino and I grew up in a more rural town, which I didn't really experience much racism, but I also wasn't really aware of it until I moved to the Gold Coast. I don't know about your childhood.
In primary school, I experienced a lot of racism, probably more than in high school or later life. I don't really experience it as much. I think it's because, well, actually in grade 2 and 3, I was the only person of colour in my entire class. And so I think other kids weren't used to seeing me, and it was clear that I looked a bit more Asian when I was little. I had more Asian eyes. So people saw my mom and they were always like, they would say the classic ching chong, and like if they ever bullied me, they would say go back to your country.
How cruel.
And yeah, so from a very early age I was kind of taught to accept it as, well, this is just what I have to deal with because of my parents.
Wow, so from a really young age, like that's so terrible.
Yeah.
In high school, I don't think I felt it too much either. I think it was more of what I thought of myself in comparison to other people. I don't really have many confrontations or just troubles with anyone, so I don't think anyone had any reason to be mean to me even. I sort of kept to myself. I'm a lot different now. But when I reflect back on it, yes, I was in the minority and all of that, and I did have this expectation to be smart, which I'm not. But it was more of that. I more felt like adulty.
You are smart. I was just like, wait, Mary just said she's not smart, bro. Mary's very smart, guys, just for the record.
I wouldn't think it was natural. I would have to try really hard to keep up. But yeah, that's how I felt. And how was your high school experience?
Definitely I didn't feel pretty or beautiful. I remember I had a friend told me like, oh, Monica, you should be a model. And I never, ever, ever, ever thought that I could ever be a model. It's not something that ever crossed my mind. Mm-hmm. And so when she said that, I was really like, what? Nah, you're just my friend. Like,
yeah, just because we have this image in Australia where blonde is beautiful, and you don't ever, you never know like what people perceive as beautiful, so we just assumed that it was what was mainstream, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And growing up, especially on the Gold Coast, it's very surfy. Every modeling campaign I ever saw was like Billabong or like whatever bikini brand.
Look at you now.
Thank God the day and age we are in now, diversity is much more like not even accepted, it's needed, and brands aren't being supported if they're not being diverse, which is amazing. And it's what a time to be alive. But you think about like where we've come from, and even 10 years ago things were, even months ago it was very different to where it is now, but we're getting better, so it's the main thing.
Yeah, of course. Not just being Asian was really impacting my self-esteem. It was more because also you're going through like acne, and I have really bad eczema, and beach culture was definitely not for me. And so I just felt really left out in that aspect as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, more racism was felt definitely as I became more aware, as I started working at Subway. I would notice that I was treated really different compared to my other workmates and everything, and older men were like gravitating towards me, and it's not something that like you're very comfortable with either, especially being a young girl. That really opened my eyes to how different I was like to other people.
Yeah.
Just because imagine strangers approaching you, and older people approaching you and asking for your number or calling you beautiful, and it's just like my first proper job. I was just really caught off guard, and that's when I started learning more and noticing more. It's so hard to talk about because it's just so uncomfortable. An instance where I knew on point that it was because of race was when this man who was plenty my senior started from the beginning and asked me about my race, and then I told him, oh, I'm Filipino, my parents are full Filipino, I'm blah blah blah, and then he talked more about my age, and I was like, oh, at the time I was 17, and he had said, "Oh, really? My wife is 20." And then we kept going, and I was just having a lovely conversation with him. And at the very end, he asked me for my phone number, and I was just really put back about that. And I thought, oh, this is definitely not the conversation that I thought it was leading into. And like in that moment, I thought of when my mum had told me not to be overly nice to people, and I just never thought I'd have to put that into practice. And then when I'd said, oh, haha, I sort of awkwardly laughed. The guy next to the old man, he was like this young teenager, sort of laughed at it as well. And in that moment, I was sort of like asking for someone to take me out of that situation. And then he proceeded to say, oh, worth a try. The women in the Philippines love me. And I was just like, what? You made me feel uncomfortable, and then you categorized me. And I never said anything in that moment until I'd gone home and told my parents, and it was just the most awkward I'd ever felt at work. Like, I'm not there to find a partner, I'm not there to do anything, or I don't know, it's just so hard to explain, like, the feelings in that moment. Even talking now, I'm getting, like, really emotional, because imagine being, like, a young girl and, like...
Mary.
I think I got really upset about reliving all of that, because it really puts into perspective that we have to raise our children to understand these situations are going to happen. They're unprovoked. It's literally because you're different. And that was the first time I was ever fully confronted with the thought of someone categorizing me and thinking that I wanted an opportunity like that. And because the stereotype is mail order brides, and reflecting back on it now, I'm just like, that man has no idea how educated I am. He has no idea what I've been through and who I am, and the fact that he blatantly just saw that I was Asian and thought that he would offer me something like a relationship was so disrespectful. It just makes me so angry, and I'm sure a lot of other people out there have experienced way worse than that situation, and I can't even fathom how they feel. And it's like, where is their voice? In that moment, I was 17, and there was a whole line of customers there. I had my workmates on the side as well, and no one was there to pull me out of it, because they don't understand how deep that really cut me.
I think racism, a lot of the racism that is prevalent in Australia comes from it being a joke. And everyone was laughing at that happened to Mary, thinking it's just a joke, when really this is our reality, and we have to deal with that. And that man wasn't joking. They're his thoughts and opinions, and that's how he views Filipino women. And for us to be put in that category, knowing that we are treated like that, our sisters can be treated like that, our fellow Filipinos are treated like that, it's so degrading, and like, you feel such fury. Like, you just want to yell at this man and tell him that he is so, like, disrespectful and just disgusting.
Exactly.
And
everyone in that moment probably just laughed it off as well and thought that it was just skin off my chin. But I literally went home and told my parents, and my parents were literally scared. Yeah. Because you never know. Like, I'm so young. I was at a place where I was so vulnerable. What could I have said to that man without me, like, getting in trouble myself, type thing? It was just such a horrible instance that it had to happen. And what's more annoying is that he keeps coming back. He doesn't understand his actions and how, like, it really affected me. Even talking now, that was years ago. I'm 21 now, and I still get, like, upset and shaky and, like, just so flustered over something that happened so long ago.
It's because, like, the feeling never goes away, how that person made you feel, and it's not like things have changed so drastically that the world is different now. It's because it's still the same. And
after that, I felt like I couldn't come to work and do my makeup, or I had to
you want to look pretty.
I had to take myself back and not look I didn't look anyone in the eye when I served them after that. I thought it was my fault. Like, did I give him the opportunity to think that we could pursue something together in the short time that we spoke with each other? Like, I reflected on that for so long, thinking, did I do anything to provoke that situation? Did I put myself in that place? It was so terrible.
I think as well, the workplace is the one place where we feel vulnerable and we want to feel protected. I had an instance where I was working at this quite a large chain, you know.
Yeah.
The manager there was only hiring young Asians, and so at the time I didn't really think anything of it because I wasn't. I didn't think I should have gotten the job, but then I got the job, and he tried to like kind of like get close to me, and then he asked me weird stuff, like he asked me to water his plants and like look after his house when he went away, and I was just like, what the hell is going on here? And the thing is, you could tell that he had always done that as I like said no and like put an end to it all. Like I wasn't gonna let him, you know, like scare me into anything.
And he was like the boss.
Exactly.
He had the power over you.
Exactly. You could tell that he was targeting like naive young, like not naive, but just women that won't always speak up for themselves. And so I was like, no, I'm not gonna let this happen. I can tell that he's targeting these women because, some of us are too nice. Like we don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want to, not get a reference at our next job. We don't want to have this awkward ending. And so I was not going to stand for it. And I started getting the worst, like rosters. I got either one job a week or no jobs at all. And when I did work, I was cleaning or doing the rubbish, like the huge trash.
And you so, being this like little
little by myself, and it was like people, when I told them I was doing trash by myself, they were like, by yourself? Like two people are supposed to do that. And so I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I ended up leaving that job, even though I loved it, regardless of him. And I had a girl message me one day like, hi, this guy's done this to me, and someone told me that he did it to you too. I want to bring him down pretty much. And so I wrote a report, and he's no longer there. But the situation is, he was literally targeting young Asian women, trying to like get with them. This other girl, like he took it so much further with her. He would drive her home and stuff.
It's disgusting.
It's literally like, people don't realize how often it happens. Like this was also my first job. And so it's just a matter of like talking about it, knowing that it's there. And when you hear about it, doing something about it, not just laughing about it. Like I wish I'd been there, which also Mary had a run-in on the weekend, and I wish I'd been there too. Would you like to tell me the full story finally?
Okay. So I was out for dinner with my girlfriends, and we were having the best time. We were bar hopping, and it was just such a good vibe. And then we moved to this bar, and when we sat there, we all said hi, and I made my way to the bathroom, and as I was walking in, this group of men was sitting in the corner near the entrance, and I had already felt like they were staring at me, but not once did it cross my mind that they were like going to say anything terrible. I just thought like, whatever, like guys look at girls all the time when you go out. Anyways, I walk in, and this man starts yelling out, "Ling Ling." And I was just like, what the hell? And in my mind, I was on such a high. I didn't want to ruin the night. I didn't want anything to happen because it was just, I didn't want to touch how good it was. And so I tried to ignore it. I kept walking, and this man yells "Ling Ling" again. And in this moment, I was so embarrassed because the entire bar was listening to him yelling "Ling Ling" at me. And I keep walking, and I was literally shaking at that point. Like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to ruin the night. And he said "Ling Ling," and I literally snapped and turned around, and I was like, that is not fucking cool. Like, I'm sorry to swear, but I'm getting really passionate. And I was just like, that is not cool. And then he was sitting across from the table, and so I was yelling at him from this side. The person directly next to me, one of his mates, was Islander. And he tried to hold me back from saying something or getting in his face. And I had said to the Islander, you out of everyone here should be standing up for me. Because, like, especially in the time that we're in, all of these terrible things are coming to light. And I just thought, like, why aren't you saying anything? Anyways, I, ended up running back to the bathroom because I was just so annoyed. And then once I was in the bathroom, one of my friends came over and was like, oh, did something happen? And I was like, I just ranted. I was so angry. I don't even remember what I said in the moment because it was so it all just came, and I was intoxicated, and I just couldn't collect my thoughts and compose something that was meaningful to him, because clearly that man was uneducated. And then when I had gotten out, the lady at the bar was really nice to me, and then the man was waiting for me to come out so that he could apologize. And his apology was the most disgusting, insincere apology that I'd ever heard. It made me even more angry, to be honest. And he had said to me, he held me and he was like, I don't want you to cry. I'm so, so sorry. My roommate has Asian girls over all the time and they allow for him to call them Ling Ling. And I just stood there like, you do understand we're not all the same. Like, do you hear my accent? Because that's what he was referring to. Like, he was referring to the way I look. And I just cut myself off because I was just like, you can't help stupid.
Yeah.
This man does not want to hear what I have to say. He doesn't care. He's already said it. He's already done the damage. He doesn't want to make it right. He doesn't want to learn from this. And then he proceeded to say, you are the most gorgeous Asian girl I've ever seen, and I just had to tell you. And I just couldn't even gather how angry I was. But straight afterwards, I went to the bar and he goes, your friend's tab is on me. And it just went from there, and I just tried to not ruin the night. And I went back to my friends, and I think even reflecting on it now, I think I should have made a bigger deal of it. You know, because I'm the type of person to say if we're driving, if someone cuts me off, before beeping, I'll like think about if that was right, if I had done anything wrong. I always have to justify what I'm going to say next. And in that moment, I was like, whatever, let it be. It's happened. It's over. And I think that everyone needs to be educated. If everyone like knew how that would have made me feel in that bar, the whole situation would have been different. It wouldn't have been just an apology. He would have gotten thrown out. Like, why even serve a racist man?
Yeah.
And it was so public. Everyone would have known, and no one stood up for me. The Islander guy tried to pull me back from it, didn't want to make a scene, and I just thought that was so cowardly. We postponed filming this, and then this happened, and I think that is why, like, this needs to be heard. Those small situations really do make a big impact. Like, imagine something like that happening to your daughter, where she gets called out like that. How disgusting. And that man, you just have to understand, some people have those thoughts and beliefs and values and they don't want to change. People are raised like that, and you just can't change the way they think. All you can do is preach and like spread your opinion, and if someone close to him wants to give him a lesson, then he should listen, and if not, that's all on him, and that's that.
Yeah. That's the thing though, you shouldn't have to be the one to stick up for yourself in situations like that. Everyone should know that that's wrong.
Yeah.
And he should be punished for that, whether it's, just kicking him out of there. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we're talking about it, because we don't want people to see it as like, oh, it's just a joke, you know, don't overreact, just like get over it, because that's not how it makes us feel. It's not something like that. That guy, I'm sure he, you know, joked about it in the moment and has completely forgotten about it. Same like that man in Subway. But Mary has to live her life now knowing that that could happen again, because it's happened before, and it could happen to her sister, it could happen to her mum. It could happen to anyone in, like, you know, her family.
And it wasn't just like he yelled out, saw that I was uncomfortable, and stopped and said sorry. It was like he yelled out. I had to, like, side-eye him twice until I had to approach him to tell him that that wasn't cool. And it's like, in the heat of the moment as well, I was so, angry, or I wish I could go back to it, because I talk so much about how I want to spread the word, and all the things I could say to like clap back at a racist or whatever, but you never are prepared fully for a moment like that.
Absolutely.
And that's what I realized. And
that's the most irritating part, is I'm so anti-racist, like, first of all, but if someone is racist to a Filipino, of all things, because obviously I relate to that the most, and I've seen people treat my mother differently because she's full Filipino, which is the next video. But if I saw someone say something, I just wish that I could be mentally ready to just give them a piece of my mind. But the reality is, in the moment, you're never ready for that moment.
Exactly.
You never think that it will actually happen. You know that there are racists. They're all over Facebook. You see them hiding behind screens, but you never actually think that you're going to go out for a nice night with your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And someone is going to treat you differently because of simply how you look, which is just absolutely crazy. And it happens to everyone. It happens to black people, Indians, Asians of all sorts. And so why do we have to deal with this?
Yeah, and it's not just us as Asians need to stand up for ourselves. It's if your friend acts out, you need to speak up, because going back to that situation, it was me against a whole group of 40 to 50-year-old men. Yeah. And I'm just like, no one talked. It was just that one man that singled me out, and everyone around just had their heads down, didn't want to involve themselves. And I just thought that was so cowardly. Bystanders are just as to blame as the person doing something against you.
And the thing is, like, at least a fist fight, okay, maybe you don't want to get involved because you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to be part of, you know, a misfired hit. But when someone's verbally saying something, you can always be the person that walks up to them and says, that is not right. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be the young woman that's the one getting, you know, verbally assaulted. It should be everyone there. Go up to this man and tell him, look, that's not right. Yeah. You cannot do that. And then that man has like a least likely chance of doing it again. It's about making them know that it's not right to prevent it from happening.
Afterwards, I actually learned that he is one of the co-owners of that bar or something like that. So that's why no one wanted to speak up, and I just thought,
oh my god,
like, it's obviously
write to the bulletin or something.
Honestly, but people of power in Australia are mainly white, and your person of power at your job, like, definitely controlled that situation. That man was let off, whatever. Honestly, if that happened in a place where I had control of, he would have been out of there. He'd never be back again. I just honestly have been replaying that moment and everything that could have happened afterwards, or everything that I could have changed over and over in the last couple of days. Like, you have no idea how many times that's gone through my head. And it's just like that tiny thing would have been so minute to every other person in that bar. And here I am, like, getting upset over it still. You can't help but being passionate about stuff like this, because it's like, that is probably really small compared to what other Asians feel. 100%. You and I have grown up here. We don't have an accent. Exactly. I know a lot of kids or people that I've grown up with that are really insecure about even ordering food or like going out by themselves because they're fully Asian and because they have an accent. And it's like, I see the way they're treated. It's absolutely terrible, and I don't blame them for being insecure and scared. And that is what needs to change. It's just heartbreaking that something that you have no control over, which is your race, obviously, can dictate how other people treat you. I don't think that my friends or your friends even, or your extended family on like your Caucasian side understand what you've had to go through because you're half Asian. Yeah, you know?
It's definitely something that, I mean, you don't think about it. You just don't think about it. And I think because we experience it, we even try to forget about it, because it's like, oh, we you know, we have to deal with it, because it's like, yeah, it is our reality, it is what we have been accustomed to, but it's just not fair. And I am so like grateful for the last couple months and people talking about racism, because I think it's finally going to change. The
plain fact is that it's only being brought to light. This has been happening for our entire lives, beyond everything. Like, I can't even imagine what my mum has to face, like, within herself every day, like, having to think about what other people think of her and whatever she does. And, you know, it's just like, there's so many people out there, like, people that you walk past every day. You have no idea what they have to go through to get through the day. Yeah. You know? I could go on and on, I swear, about everything.
Will, because Filipinos in particular, that is such, you know, a topic that we're very passionate about, of course. That's us. And so we want to talk about it in detail and kind of bring to light the certain stereotypes that are talked about and why they are absolutely wrong and disgusting and disrespectful. And we're going to educate you guys if you are interested.
For sure. I hope that everyone watching, I hope that all of your listeners and everyone that gets to be reached from this video take something from it and spread their word, or just even reflect about if you've ever mistreated anyone because of how they look simply.
Yeah. Or even if you've experienced someone getting called out for their looks, how could you have done something differently? How could you have stood up for that person and been an ally rather than just a bystander?
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that next video.